Good evening, folks.
And for the first time in Fandom Power history, the greeting, hello there, seems more appropriate than ever before.
Yep.
Always on the move.
Oh, wow.
We're back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to technically it's our...
This is the first episode. The other one was a trailer breakdown.
I guess so, yeah. Welcome to the first full episode of The High Ground. I am your host, Wes. I am joined once again with Andy and Hank. Welcome back from the ether, sir. We have missed you.
I've been working too hard. Yes, sir. I am.
You do.
Pleased as much to be back.
Star Wars brings people together.
Yes, sir.
Hey, did you hear this little thing? Obi-Wan Kenobi came out this week.
Yeah, something like that.
No. I thought we were here to talk about the Ahsoka teaser trailer that nobody's seen yet.
I still haven't seen it.
The great starter, Hank. I'm just going to start with I'm going to follow up on that one because we had a lot of side chat in our previous Star Wars review series kind of about the fandom. I mean, that is what we're about here on this show. We are about the fandom. We're about the things that we love, but part and parcel to that are the fans.
Yeah, man.
And the vitriol surrounding the previous Star Wars live action television shows, I have stayed well and clear of just about everything. I only actually started poking my head into stuff as I was putting my notes together where I needed to fill in some holes. Do we think that the level of fandom menace that is associated with Star Wars is attached to the show as well?
I would hope not, but I think it might be.
I think you might be right.
It's less. It's certainly less prevalent out the gate. I had to dig for it a bit, and again, they're swinging at air balls. They're just, I don't even understand their beef. Like, you know.
I don't either.
No.
Well, I stumbled across something I'll bring up in a little bit, but it was a preemptive thing on behalf of Lucasfilm.
I want to. I'm definitely looking forward to hear that. I want to ask a question because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine on the West Coast who had said, just kind of messaged me out of the blue, and it was like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh my God. And then the follow-up comment was, better than the Book of Boba Fett. And I had some strong reactions to that. I didn't say anything. I just kind of let it sit and I let it percolate for a minute. And I actually thought about it for a second. And I want to say this. This is now the third live action Star Wars television series under the Disney banner.
That's right.
And I have to ask this question, and I'm asking this of our audience as well. Do you guys weigh all Star Wars live action television shows equally? Do you use the same scales when you put a show like Obi-Wan Kenobi up against the two shows that exist concurrently within the Mandoverse?
I would like to think I do, but I know, everybody's got their favorite character, and that can always weigh in. Wes,
I mean,
Obi.
There's a level of
that's fair
quality and content I did not expect from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And season 2 didn't even begin to slow down.
No.
And I loved every second of Boba Fett. I'm the guy that'll buy everything that is stamped with a Star Wars thing on it, though. So maybe I'm a good metric. But rather than find fault with things, and there's definitely fault with everything. You could, if you dig deep,
there's lots,
right?
Sure, there is. Yeah, there's lots.
But I chose to focus on the things that I really enjoyed about it. And did I enjoy the stuff that brought Mando back in a little more? Sure. I really enjoyed Boba's time with the Tusken Raiders a lot. I really enjoyed that a lot. And I don't think that it's fair to judge the next project by the last project, or you're never going to get new ways of telling stories. You're never going to actually push boundaries if you're just trying to one-up yourself.
Right, right.
You need to be able to take risks, and the fandom has it. Like we if we're part of the fandom, and we are, we've set against them in terms of that. Like they're afraid to take risks because of us, members of our community.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think we actually want that. I think we want, like George Lucas took risks, and I think we want our creators to take risks. Having said which, I was stunned by Obi-Wan. But I don't think it's fair to compare things to the last thing that came out. I think that everything should stand on its own. And is it
I do.
same,
I agree with that.
Is it the same quality in terms of visually? Is the CG? Are we building a universe? Is it tracking? Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I can't say enough about all the live action TV has been fantastic. And if we're going to judge everything by the last thing, we're not going to make progress. We're not going to move forward.
I thought, on that note, that with Obi-Wan not existing concurrently with, as I said, the Mandoverse, this show is several years ahead of that. That alone was enough for me to take pause and really think, no, I don't think I weigh all my Star Wars TV shows on the same scales. I think, like you say, I weigh them based on their own merits and faults. But also, like you, Hank, I found a total enjoyment in everything we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
I want to push the conversation a little bit forward. I want to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, let me just say this. Boy, was I wrong about our trailer breakdown. Without getting into specifics, because we will cover them as they come up. We've all seen it now. And if you saw our trailer breakdown, haha, you can all laugh at me because I totally deserve it.
I don't know.
Awesome.
There's a prevailing theme here across the first couple of episodes, certainly in part one, and then again in part two, and that is that Ben, as we will probably go and call him for the foreseeable future of this show anyway, he's not the same man that we left at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And if anything, that theme keeps coming up recurrently in a physical way, especially in an emotional way. And man, this is an emotional journey, and I am so sucked in.
Oh, big time. If anybody's ever been in a dark place and managed to dig their way out, that's exactly what this is about. I couldn't be more thrilled. I mean, it's like a character study. Like, people were complaining about The Last Jedi and what Luke was going through. And if you had an ounce of this to Luke's character in that movie.
You know what? I had this conversation with Kim today. Kim said the exact same thing, that he's going through the same thing that Luke went through on Octo.
And Yoda as well.
Yeah.
So powerful stuff.
All right, as promised, we are going to cover both episodes 1 and 2, but we are not going to cover them both tonight because that would just be one of the most epic streams we've ever done.
6 hours later.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. We all have busy lives and we had busy weeks. I was not able to take part 1 because I had a personal commitment somewhere else. Andy, you've got the con tonight for part 1.
I do.
But I would invite everybody to come back tomorrow night. That is Monday, the 30th of May, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern, where I'll be back in the hot seat and we will cover part 2. Now, without any further ado, Andy, the floor is yours, sir. Take us away.
Let's get to it. All right. Our first episode is simply titled Part 1. Pretty basic, but it works. Directed by Deborah Chow. It has a runtime of 55 minutes and 9 seconds with credits, or 43:26 without credits and recap.
Can we talk about the recap for a second?
We can, yeah.
Is that not the most epic
that is
recap?
Hits all the points you need, and you know what? It brought up some loose threads.
If you needed a primer on the prequel trilogy as far as Obi-Wan's journey is concerned, you could just watch that.
Yeah.
It reminded me, and not in a negative way, but of a fan teaser trailer. Like, so you know those where they make
where you just mash
trailers
together
for the
what
new,
you need.
right, from the old footage, and that's what
Yeah.
it reminded me of, almost like an homage
Yeah.
to that. Actually.
Yeah.
On music detail for this one, all 6 episodes are scored by multi-award winning British composer Natalie Holt, and her previous work includes Kindred, Fever Dream, and Marvel's Loki.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So no
Cool.
stranger to Disney.
No, not at all.
And the first thing we see when we kick into this episode, though, is
Yeah.
something very familiar.
I have to say, I was quite taken back by that.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I wasn't expecting it, to be honest.
It felt right.
Yes, it did.
It's the first of the shows with that card.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And, I think it's actually, it speaks more to the intro, the sort of clip show,
The Star Wars thing, how it's leading right off of the Sith.
right?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, but after our 4-minute montage, and we get our updated Star Wars and helmet, little flashy droid montage. We got some new faces in there.
I want to say the armor is new.
The armor
Is that
new.
right? Okay.
Yeah, and I believe a mouse droid as well.
Was she not part of the Boba ones? I don't know. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't.
Maybe. But we open, and we get like a really peaceful training session at the Jedi Temple. And it is on Coruscant, and it is Jedi Master Minas Velti, played by stunt actress Ming Qing. And we got some younglings in there, taking part. This isn't the first time we've seen Ming in the Star Wars franchise, though, because she was the stunt double for Ming-Na Wen's Fennec Shand
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
in both
Awesome.
The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
That's awesome.
But she followed her further because she also doubled her in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right on.
But that's a thing in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Where like you as an actor or certain actors, they have their double.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Dwayne Johnson uses his cousin. His
Tarantino
cousin
made a
is
whole
his.
movie about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's also worked on the live action Mulan film. So she's, Disney through and through.
Right.
But
I have to say, her defense of the younglings in a few minutes is some pretty brilliant lightsaber work, actually.
I would say so.
For a second there, I was thinking that, and I couldn't remember. I actually went back. I'm like, I got to go back to Attack of the Clones because she reminded me of somebody. For a second, I thought that she was Boltar Swan.
Okay.
The girl that was in the arena in Geonosis in the stands. My God, Asian woman. Is it the same person? Is she a master now? Did she survive Geonosis? I couldn't remember. Turns out, no.
Yeah.
It's not her.
But our tranquil training session, it doesn't last long as the doors slide open and members of the 501st rush in blasting. And the younglings take cover while the master kind of dispatches the two of them with a green lightsaber. But then she tries to lead them out, and we see other Jedi engaging clone troopers. So, we know right where we are.
Yeah, I mean, the temple is
It's just been stormed.
we saw some of that from the outside when we saw, I can't even say that we saw that. We saw
see Anakin.
Obi-Wan and Yoda breach the temple afterwards. And we saw them fight a few clones, but like to see the action from the inside.
Live action clones, too.
Yeah. Now, their helmets, I couldn't discern who they were. As far as I can tell, they're just generic 501st guys.
Probably.
But, I'm sure some named ones are in there somewhere.
It's entirely likely. Yeah.
But they make their way to a high bridge in the main hall, I think it is. And try as they might, like so many others, she eventually falls to blaster fire. Again, these are clone troopers, not stormtroopers. They can hit their mark.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're a military. They have numbers on their side.
Yeah.
That does speak to the whole thing, though. Like, they wanted to call the Jedi back to the temple. They wanted to set a trap for them, and we know that not all of the Jedi were here at the time. So we got survivors out there somewhere.
Yes, we do. The younglings, they pause near the fallen body of their master, and we see in the background there's a bunch of huge statues in the temple as the battle rages on.
Right.
And we also hear Emperor Palpatine's voice eerily repeating the command to execute Order 66.
Yes, we do.
We've seen these statues before, though. in the atrium in the Force Unleashed video game.
Oh wow.
You can see them there. And you can also purchase replicas of the I Am One with the Force statue at Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, nice.
There's a level in the new Lego game that has a bunch of Jedi statues that you have to solve a puzzle with too.
You know me, I'm a sucker for merchandise too.
Yeah. But the younglings, they don't linger long, and really quick, they run off with the hope of escaping. And that's all we get from them for now. So we get our title card next.
Can we just go back to that, to your last slide for a second, Andy? Because
Sure.
I think this is an important point here. Is there anybody here that does not think that the girl in the back row is Reva?
It's possible.
Yeah, that's my thought. They open on her.
It opens on her face.
Yeah, and it's a slow pan back from her to the rest of the younglings, but they linger on her central in the frame for the first few sort of moves of that kata.
I don't even want to use the term that gets thrown around, the bait and switch term, because I don't feel like that's what this is.
No.
I will say that, as we've pointed out many, many times, that one of the central themes of Star Wars is redemption.
Yes.
And is this not, like, to me, knowing what we know going forward, I do believe that this is going to feature prominently throughout the series, that we may see
more flashbacks of what happened to this specific group.
Well, I actually think we're going to see Reva's redemption throughout this arc, or throughout this series.
You think she can come back?
She may not be able to. So this could be the same conversation we had about Crosshair.
True.
I think Crosshair could come back, but he has gone so far that the only way he's coming back is posthumously.
Yeah.
And it may be the same thing for her as well. But I don't think that she's all the way in. She's really, really far.
Yes, she is.
Like, we'll start with hands far, but I don't think that she's so far that she can't come back. And I'll point out, like, call it a technicality. Remember in the marketing material how fans were up in arms that they couldn't see the yellow eyes of Rupert Friend's the Grand Inquisitor?
Yes.
We've since seen that that's been corrected. We see it in the fifth brother. We see it in the fourth sister, but we don't see it in Reva.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Her eyes remain brown, I guess.
Yeah.
That's very true. We'll get into it as they sort of appear naturally, but there's quite a bit about the Inquisitors that's interesting in terms of their relationship with Vader, and
their varying methodologies.
She has some interesting distinctions about her, and we'll get into that when we introduce the rest of the Inquisitors. Yeah.
So we flash then after our title card to 10 years later, and we find ourselves on Tatooine, and the good people are going about their daily routines. Jawas are peddling their wares. Some gamblers are shooting dice in an alley. I'm not quite sure what dice game this is, but it appears to be like little pyramid dice.
Maybe.
Nice.
So
I just want to say kudos on the reuse of the Tatooine, the Mos Espa sets from Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Or
Confirmed to be Mos
yeah.
Eisley, though, in the descriptive audio.
Is that what they're calling it? I see now. I actually, I should have turned it on when I was watching this one.
And the crashed starship is present. You know, that big angled crashed starship. The what's it called? Oh, I forget. The Queen's,
I know the one you're talking about.
The Queen's Bounty or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But before long, the people, they start looking up as a shadow falls over the city, and we get a good glimpse at what's on the Jawa's sail mat. And these parts will come up later. But as the ship draws closer, everybody kind of scrambles. Danger is imminent.
Right.
And we come to find out that it is the Inquisitor Transport Scythe, as revealed with the upcoming Lego sets.
Is that what it's officially called?
That is what it's officially called.
Scythe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And it makes landfall, and the residents of the town, they are all stepping back or scrambling away. And the ramp lowers, and finally we get our Grand Inquisitor, played by Rupert Friend. He walks out, followed by the fifth brother, played by Sung Kang, and the third sister, Reva Savander, played by Moses Ingram.
Head not elongated.
Yes.
He looks fantastic.
He does.
He
You
does.
can't tell me that he doesn't.
Yeah. Imposing as hell. But sidebar, in my research, this is where I came upon that troubling article. And as reported by Variety, and a few other sites, apparently Moses Ingram was warned by Lucasfilm to be prepared for a backlash of racism from internet trolls for her role as the third sister in the show, citing similar issues with John Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran with the sequel trilogy.
Mhm. I think that's good on them because I think they're showing up front a little solidarity, and in terms of the way they may have let the other two out to hang a little bit, maybe that's just proof that they have her back, because it's bound to happen,
Yeah.
which is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we forget that when actors are playing a role, that they are employees.
Yeah.
And I mean, this boils down to, this is a 100% HR thing. This is a company looking out for its employee.
Right.
I just
Right.
hope that Pablo Hidalgo did not deliver that message.
That's funny. And I mean, do you want her to not try hard, guys, in her role as in Star Wars? Come on, people.
Yeah.
Of course we do.
There is no phoning it in.
Of course we want her to be. Yeah,
But-
we want her to give her
Deliver
everything.
the best performance
Right.
she can.
And it's as a criticism, that stuff makes me crazy.
Yeah. But back to our show at hand. The three Inquisitors, they stroll down the street, and all the people, they just, lower their heads, turn away, or scurry off, and they make their way to an open-air tavern. And, let's take a moment to focus in on our three here. First up, the Grand Inquisitor, played by British actor Rupert Friend. Some people were concerned by that lack of the extended cone head, but, the performance he's delivered in this episode is top shelf. He is forceful, he's threatening, and he's imposing.
I just love his mannerisms. I love the cadence of his voice. I am hung on every line that he delivers.
He's got just leadership qualities all about him.
So I'd read an article where Mr. Friend purposefully did not watch any of Rebels because he didn't want to be influenced by Jason Isaacs' performance.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And watching it, I'm like, really? Because
You sure you didn't watch any of that?
Because spot on, sir.
Yeah.
You may know him from his previous work on The Death of Stalin, Hitman Agent 47, and Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley.
Another Star Wars connection.
Yeah. But next up, we have the fifth brother, played by Korean-American actor Sung-ho Kang. You probably know him best as Han Lu, from the Fast and Furious franchise. But you may also recognize him from roles in Ninja Assassin and Better Luck Tomorrow.
Did he have any speaking parts in this one?
In this one?
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, he lays into our next.
Did you like
here.
did you like the vocal processing on his voice?
I didn't mind it. It gives him a more,
It does. I
menacing
actually-
sound.
Because of Han, I'm like, how are they going to get him to sound like the fifth brother?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they're going to do it. That's okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it turned out well because I think he's in control of that himself.
Oh, you think?
Just based on, when he's speaking to the crowds and when
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah, yeah.
speaking to the crowd. But, we'll get there. Finally, we have the third sister, Reva Savander, played by actress Moses Ingram. Her portrayal so far, she is ruthless and ambitious. Can't wait to see how they develop her character on this. But you may know her from other work on the Apple original film, The Tragedy of Macbeth, the Netflix original series, The Queen's Gambit, or a 9-minute short film called Candace.
Should we take a second to bring everybody up to speed on Inquisitors?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we've talked about Inquisitors before on the show, but I think it's worth revisiting because some people might be seeing these characters for the first time and kind of be like, what the heck is this?
Yeah. So like we said before, for the less than casual viewer, these are RPG inventions from the old games, the D6.
That's right. Yeah.
West End Games class of character. But what's really interesting is the stuff that goes on in the comics. I can't say enough, and you guys have heard me harp on it time and time and time again.
Still making my way through it.
Read the Vader comics. stellar stuff, and especially now in light of this, with the Inquisitors being more and more prominent in the Star Wars culture, if you will. There's some great stuff. So there's 12. There's 12 Inquisitors, one of which we haven't met yet. In the comics, there's 2 unnamed. They don't even give them their numbers, but they're killed by Vader for entertaining a romantic relationship with one another.
Oh,
There's the ones that obviously appear in Rebels that we're really familiar with. The fifth brother being one of them. The seventh sister being another. There's a few others in the comics, and especially the I believe it's the 10th sister from the Fallen Order video
Jedi
game.
Fallen Order, yeah,
and that's where we sort of learn that Vader likes to train them personally, and one of the things he does to each and every one of them is he sort of maims them in some fashion, and he says it's to show them pain and loss, so they can experience pain and loss, and maybe grow stronger in the dark side because of that.
Right.
It cuts off the 10th sister's hand in the comic. But I find that really interesting. Moving forward, there's going to be a line of dialogue, and we'll talk about that when it pops up because it happens really soon. But I find it really interesting that knowing that part of the way that Vader trains them all personally.
Yeah.
And there is no sort of, it's under the direction of Palpatine, but he's not involved in any way. This is Vader's little cadre, if you will. That Reva seems to be intact, if you will. And we spoke about her eyes earlier, and I think there's something to that, and I think there's even more to your thoughts on the redemption arc for the character.
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing that nobody knows about too, and it's probably going to come up in the Ahsoka show too, is that the 6th brother was I think he was a Django jumper. You remember those guys? The race starts with a T. 3-fingered, very agile characters. They're in some of the Clone Wars episodes. I think maybe in one of the Rebels episodes. Anyways, one of those species, the 6th brother, is the Inquisitor that Ahsoka kills and takes his red sabers.
Right.
Purifies the crystals for her own sabers
to make her white lightsabers.
Yeah.
That's
so
very cool.
These guys go deep in the lore, and it's real cool that we're focusing heavily on them.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as they stroll along, they enter the tavern, and we're treated to the full "How to Hunt a Jedi" speech, as was teased in the trailer.
Anybody think the bald guy was a clone for a second?
Okay, so I want to talk about that because sitting here right now with you guys looking at this image, I am still saying that's Tamura Morrison's head. And I think that they swapped actors when the camera, because we do see this guy from the front.
Yeah.
And it's not Tamura.
No,
but
no.
like, I was sure that they planted a clone in this bar. And I still think that that's him from behind.
It could be.
I feel like it's kind of like a
cognitive dissonance.
Man, is that a bait and switch? Is that what that? I don't know. Sean says, yeah, I thought it was a clone.
Yeah, totally.
We all did, Sean. We all did.
He was about 0.3 seconds in the trailer, and I thought it was a clone.
The Grand Inquisitor, he makes his way to the bar to confront the owner of the establishment, played by Derek Basco.
No Toronto whiskey in this one.
No. And he delivers the monologue here in a fashion that is both inquisitorial and ultimately threatening. He's like a lawyer with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Nice analogy.
Yeah, and we also get to notice some clear lightsaber activity scorched right into the wall.
Right.
Like as he refers to them, leaving trails.
He's just recanting the tale. He knows exactly. It's like he's inventing a story, but he's just basically recanting what he already knows.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But growing impatient with the Grand Inquisitor's methods, the third sister moves to speed up the process, and she grabs a knife off the closest table and hurls it at the barkeep. and it reaches within a couple inches of his face, but is stopped short by an unknown Jedi sitting in the corner. He's quickly spotted by the third sister, though. And side note here, we do see what I think is a Nimbinel alien chilling in the corner, but I don't think it's anybody we've previously met.
What are we calling this guy?
Nimbinel.
I don't even know if I'm aware of that. What that species is?
Yeah, that
It's
seems
some-
brand new to me.
Must
Like a
be.
weird walrus type dog face.
Oh, right.
We've
Okay,
met one
I get it.
before,
I get it.
Mosep
Yeah.
Reed.
Right. Yes, I know what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Did we not sequel era? There are a lot of sequel era aliens
Right.
peppered throughout this, and I think
It's true.
just as a quick side note, I think that's a smart thing to do, because now it's like when you go back and watch the original films, and you're like, where are all these aliens that we know to exist?
Yeah.
Well, now they're being put in, and they are there.
Well,
Yeah.
technically, there was one of his species in the cantina back in A New Hope.
Okay.
Because when you go back and review all the masks and whatnot from that scene, he is in the background.
Okay,
of it.
good to know.
So, but he's unnamed and has just like a sitting role.
It's hard to keep up. I know, like when we get to part 2, there is a lot going on in terms of species, and I could not name them all if I tried.
Yep. But the knife, it falls to the ground, and the Jedi, he leaps up across tables in an attempt to escape, but he's quickly cornered by the 3 Inquisitors. And the Jedi tells him, you're wasting your time. You'll never find us all. But the third sister, she just moves to strike, and she gets pretty damn close.
That she does.
Burning the arm on him here. But before she can follow through, the Grand Inquisitor, he stops her, using the Force, and just throws her across the room, giving the Jedi the opening that he needs to escape into the street.
Hey, the clone's looking at the camera now. Oh, it's not a clone. Sorry.
Yeah.
And according to the descriptive audio, he uses the Force the whole time. She literally would have cut the guy right in half.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But the Jedi, he also uses the Force, and he pulls down the awning to block their way as he disappears into the market.
Yep.
And then, it's weird that they don't go running after, but I guess they don't need to, because they figure they'll just catch up later. So, the Grand Inquisitor, he admonishes the third sister, calling her reckless. And then she fires back, that Jedi who just escaped is Scraps. But he reminds her, Scraps are all we have left, implying that they have been very successful in their efforts in hunting down the Jedi. She insists, there is bigger prey out there. But the Grand Inquisitor shuts her down, saying, forget about your fixation on Kenobi.
Yeah.
Or I will relieve you of your duties.
We pick up with the Bad Batch. We pick up, immediately at the moment of Order 66.
Yeah.
And then, I guess the next sort of point in time is when we meet Cal Kestis in Jedi Fallen Order. Like, do we know what the gap is between those? Like, how before A New Hope is Fallen Order?
Oh,
we still have Purge Troopers, but we have Inquisitors now. So, I mean, like...
Well, they say this is 10 years after Order 66.
Yeah, so my question is, really...
9 years before...
I mean, Inquisitors haven't been hunting Jedi for, like, 10 years, because, I mean, they had to have formed the organization.
Right after, yeah.
There had to have been some time to...
They're also gone by the time of A New Hope.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, so... it's sort of a short-lived organization. Maybe 15 years. But.
You talk about the Emperor not having a hand in that, and then you wonder, did he or didn't he? Like, does the Emperor like do they just end up getting killed? Do they die, or does the Emperor say, like, Vader, enough? You can
shut her down.
Get rid of your toys.
Well, we see them all. Most of them we see die on camera in the video games.
True.
In Rebels, and we see a lot of that. So they're not very.
Yeah.
They're pretty successful till they meet Kanan and Ezra. Put it that way.
You gotta wonder, do they recycle those designations like over the time of their existence?
That's sort of what I was thinking too. When they sort of cap them at 12, but there's 2 unnumbered ones that die in the comic, and so they probably would.
The whole we're gonna need a new Timmy. We're gonna need a new number 5.
Exactly, and I would say that the first video game is probably happening now. The Fallen Order game, probably simultaneously with this. It's about
it's
the right
got to be
era.
close.
Yeah.
It's got to be close.
Yeah, super close.
This seemingly puts her in a place, and they both exit the tavern.
Yeah,
and we cut, And we are now under the blazing twin suns of Tatooine.
So that's a good point, Andy. And this is a very subtle thing. And
You
I
brought
want
this
to
up earlier to me.
I
Yeah.
want to ask, because and I'm still working on it. I still have a several minutes of footage left to cover. Transitions from scene to scene.
Straight cuts.
Straight cuts.
No fades.
Were
no
there
circles.
any wipes in this episode at all?
Not that I could tell. Because
Yeah, I
after you
didn't
mentioned
notice.
it, I started looking for it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, there aren't. There was one. I was like, oh, maybe, but no, it was.
No,
a
it
cut.
is a straight cut, and they're hard cuts too. Like,
Yeah.
and they're quick.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm not a filmmaker, so I don't understand like how transitions add drama and are part of the plot. But I found it very interesting that a technical hallmark of Star Wars, the wipe shot or the wipe,
Is
is
missing.
nowhere to be seen in this whatsoever. And does that not go back to what you said, Hank, about your creators taking risks and sort of leaving their mark on it?
Right. If we remove the growth, then we remove the evolution of the species.
Yeah.
We all want this to evolve into something crazy.
So confirmed. Spoiler: first two parts, no wipes.
No wipes.
Okay,
Maybe it was a trade-off for the long time ago card.
maybe.
But we pan across the desert and we see the down carcass of a creature that kind of like resembles a whale.
Mm.
And we pan around it to see a makeshift work village right beside it. And we follow down a conveyor belt and there's meat in various stages of preparation. This isn't the first time we've seen this creature, though.
Is it? What are you calling it?
I will get to that in 2 seconds.
Okay, I figured you were going to follow up on that because I have some questions about it.
In its other iteration,
Yep.
it was said to be built for Arctic climates. So I don't know why we're finding it on Tatooine.
You know what? Okay, well, play it out and then we can talk about it.
All right, I'm almost positive that this creature is a Jakusk.
Oh,
And they are native to the ice moon Seltzer 3, and they first appeared in the 3rd episode of the 2nd season of Star Wars Resistance.
man, you dug deep to find that
I
because
did.
I wasn't even thinking.
But like, if you look closely, you can see like the 5-fin extension
I see
and
it.
the legs on the bottom.
I see it.
But
I totally do.
in the beginning, they were simply known as Ice Creature. And at one point, they were supposed to be a Thrantra based on the Ralph McQuarrie designs.
Okay.
But that design continued to evolve to the point where they were named Ice Births in an early draft of that Resistance script before finally becoming Jakusks.
Interesting.
I should point out, though, that Thrantras are native to Alderaan,
Yeah.
and Leia is said to have ridden them.
Okay.
So, you know, one monster went one way, and this monster went a completely different way.
It's funny because, and I don't mean funny, but it's interesting in the sense that like earlier lore, like Legends lore, had both cold and warm weather versions of the Wampa. So the Wampa living on Hoth, and you had its blue warm weather cousin, the Trompa, that was everywhere else. You have,
This could be another case of that.
but I mean, like multiple subspecies of the same creature across the Star Wars galaxy is not a far stretch to me.
Exactly.
No, not at all.
Because Hank, you had said to me, you know, did I think this was a Purgle? And I'm like, it looks more like a shark.
Manta ray, possibly.
I think we lost you, Hank. We lost your audio. Your
It was very whale-like, but
there, you're back.
the fact that I'm like, oh, did I skip out?
Yeah,
you're
you're
back,
just your audio cut out for a second.
Why I thought it was a Purgle was because the meat is pretty fresh looking. And I thought, you know, based on some of the stuff that's in Rebels, that the Purgle are hunted actually because they're like a nuisance to spacefarers. So it would be nothing for them to like kill a Purgle in space and have it crash down into a planet and then harvest it, as you know. But if this is a creature from before the oceans dried up, wouldn't that meat all be rotten?
I actually thought for a second, like, because my initial thought was like, oh, there are other creatures. You know, first I'm like, is this a native creature of Tatooine? So there are other things that are as big as a crate dragon.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was my instinct. I did watch it the very first time at 3 a.m. on my phone or whatever it was.
Yep.
And I thought it was a crate dragon.
Well,
And,
I mean,
there was no thought in my mind that it wasn't until I watched it on a 16 screen.
Yeah. There is a definite crater behind it, like it skidded in.
Yeah, like it
'Cause I-
cut into the ground.
I don't.
Right.
I mean, maybe they excavated it, but I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're harvesting the meat.
Yeah, we are harvesting the meat, and another reason will come up here shortly as to why I think it is the Jakusk.
Yeah.
But you know, a whistle blows, and almost all the workers they move to punch out, and you know, receive their pay. But one sandy-haired man remains at his station, and this worker slices off a section of this whale or Jakusk meat.
Yep.
And after bundling it up, he slips it into his apron. The camera pans up, and we find that it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Finally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you notice this is yet the next new way to use a gonk droid?
Is that a gonk droid?
Yeah, as a time clock.
There you go. Most versatile droid out there.
As they're putting punch cards into the top of it, and it's spitting out credits on the side.
Yep.
I keep losing your audio. Do you keep losing me?
We do keep losing you intermittently.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's clear right now. Are you good to keep going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, we'll press on. Once Obi cleans his knife, you know, he moves toward the end of the line, and a worker in front of him, it stops to question, you know, he's only received half his normal pay. And then Foreman Groff Ditcher, played by Heath McGow, he shoves him and threatens him, saying, you know, you'll get none if you keep it up.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I got a family. And Obi looks on, and then, you know, the foreman asks him, you know, you got a problem? Obi does nothing. He just clocks out and takes his credits and go. And
not the Obi we've ever seen before at all.
No, this is not
Obi
the same
we've seen
Obi-Wan.
does something no matter what.
Yep.
This is the first big indicator that this
Something
is a
off.
changed man. You know, all the marketing leading up to the show said that Obi-Wan begins his journey as, and I don't mean to say it in a negative way, but as a broken man.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is our first evidence of that. Do you? I don't know if you covered it in your notes, Andy. Do you talk about the repetition of this, the going to work?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay, I'll talk about that
Yeah.
later then.
So we follow him out on, he gets aboard a transport, and he sits with his head down, and, you know, everybody just riding their way back to Anchorhead. And once back in town, he makes his way to a stall where there's a waiting Eope, and he pets the animal and proceeds to feed it some of the Jakusk meat.
Are we still, sorry, when we say town, are we calling, is this Mos Eisley?
I would say Anchorhead because
That's what I figured, Anchorhead.
the narrator or the descriptive audio calls it Anchorhead.
Okay, so Anchorhead confirmed.
Yeah.
Because we suspected that it was Anchorhead.
Yeah.
Right.
But
the small town he goes to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
But according to Wikipedia, there is a long list of beings able to eat the meat of the Jakusk.
Okay.
Eopes aren't on that list, so maybe it needs updating. But,
Wow.
you know, across species, there's a lot that can consume meat from that beast.
I think that is a soft retcon that will be corrected very soon.
Yeah. But, you know, Obi, he leads the beast out of town before mounting up to ride across the desert into the Judland Wastes.
Hey, is it the same Eope from the end of Revenge of the Sith?
It may be.
Do you think?
I don't know how long their lifespan is, but it could be.
Cool.
Because it seems super loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his compassion remains, right? You could see that his concern is feeding this thing.
Okay, so that's something I thought of too. I thought, isn't it interesting that he cuts a piece of meat and gives it to a beast of burden and does not eat it himself?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so
3 times,
right? And that's that speaks to his core. You know, that's almost like autonomic function for a Jedi. The compassion.
Yeah. Selfless.
Yeah. But once he gets to his home cave, you know, there's a small sensor that pops out of the ground and it blinks blue for the all clear. And for half a second, you know, this reminds you of the sensor that pops out of R2.
Yeah, very much so. The periscope out of an astromech droid.
Yeah. But it's not him. So
I do like, though, how now this is, I said this to myself in a funny kind of way. Now, is there a whole astromech droid buried there, or is it just the periscope?
Right. Well, I mean, I thought that too. The right astromech droid, knowing that that's the job, might still do it.
Yeah, really.
I
sit here underground and
I saw
just look around.
Is that R4 in some speculation blogs and stuff.
Is
but
that R4?
Right, but R4 was killed.
I don't believe that's R4.
No, he was killed. Anyways, we saw him get his head ripped off in that first fight.
Yeah.
But, Obi, he enters the cave and proceeds to stash his credits and cooks himself some stew using one of those Instapot things like we saw in The Force Awakens.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then takes a seat on the rock ledge overlooking the desert. And behind him, a Jawa pushes a hover cart full of goods up into the cave.
So this is because that's almost the inverse scene of The Force Awakens, where he's, the meal is pathetic, and he sits alone, sullen, and and what we see from Rey is sort of the same job, but she's cooking for herself, and then she seems to be almost optimistic and enjoying the meal.
Yeah.
Like she puts the helmet on, she's kind of smiling to herself. And so it's almost the inverse scene. I think it's a nice touch and a nice nod to the fact that most of us wanted Rey to be a Kenobi. I think that's what that is. It's a little nod to that.
We got our second comment here from Sean.
Sean says, that's why he doesn't remember he had a droid. It was buried the whole time.
Well, it could have been. There's a reason.
It's funny, though. I'm going to go back to that for a second now because the comment is perfect for this. The whole idea, is it R4, begs the question, because we don't expressly see this, and I don't know if it's covered in the comic books. How did Obi-Wan get to Tatooine? Did Bail drop him off, or did he take Grievous's cruise ship and fly it there himself?
Maybe.
If spoilers, I guess, there's a Lego set from the Obi-Wan show, and he has a Jedi starfighter that doesn't look like any Jedi starfighter I've ever seen before.
Okay, so something to look forward to going forward.
Maybe.
Damn you! I'm so clean on this.
No, they screwed us over before doing that, though.
Yeah, Lego's been ruining movies for years now.
Yeah. Speaking of clean, after hurling the insult that she could smell him, or should have brought some soap because she could smell him from Anchorhead, the Jawa begins her exchange with Obi by asking, do you got the credits this time? And he says, do you have what I asked for? And then the Jawa pulls out a toy model of a T-16 Skyhopper, citing that this is rare. They don't make them anymore. And we've seen this toy before.
We've absolutely seen this before.
Back in A New Hope. And then, there's a sound behind them, and it's a mechanical breakdown, and it echoes through the cave. And the Jawa asks, if you're having trouble with your evaporator. And he replies, some parts were stolen, and I need a new processor board. Excitedly, the Jawa reaches into her cart and has just what he needs. It's the same part we saw on the mat earlier in the episode.
That's funny.
So they would have sold it to somebody else.
He would have sold,
taken it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But
Tika, your friendly neighborhood Jawa.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Obi remarks though that if you're gonna steal my parts, could you at least clean them?
Yeah.
And Tika replies, cleaning is extra.
So this is awesome because for me now the comedy, which has always been important in Star Wars and never felt forced in the original trilogy.
Yep.
This is a perfect example of that.
Okay, good.
The super, super dark, tense, brooding man here, and the comedy is organic and does not, and he's playing off a person whose language we don't, you know what I mean? Like, fantastic bit of acting by Ewan McGregor. Absolutely.
Can we go back to the T-16 for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
So the whole thing about it's old, they don't make these anymore. We are all toy guys here, and I mean, is this not a nod to vintage Star Wars collectors everywhere? It's old. They don't make these anymore.
Yeah, maybe because they do a lot of reissues now.
Oh, absolutely they do. But
to
get the original
by the time Luke is an adult. Too,
really.
When he's playing with it.
This just speaks so direct. This so pointed to me. That was like, oh, it's almost a poke.
Toy collectors.
And my breath went when he threw it on the ground too.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But Obi remarks that, and he goes for the credits, and Tika asks, you need anything else? We just got a bunch of new salvage in. We stripped a Jedi's old ship they found out in the wastes. And Tika hands him an old Jedi utility belt.
So maybe that's some foreshadowing to the Lego set you're talking about, Hank.
It could be.
Do we think
But-
that maybe that was Obi's ship, or do we think that's the
I
young
think-
fellow we just met?
I think this is the Mystery Jedi's ship.
Right.
Yeah,
Or he
yeah,
would
yeah.
have,
I think so as
you know,
well.
crashed it in the wastes.
I
and
think
made
so
his
as
way to
well.
town.
Yep.
But fun note here, Tika the Jawa is played by Leilani Shiu,
Okay.
and though she's named in this episode, this would be the 4th time that she has played a Jawa. She's portrayed the Jawa in both the Book of Boba Fett and both seasons of The Mandalorian.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
So-
fantastic.
Returning character,
I wonder if she's the one that cracks the mudhorn egg.
Mhm.
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But I love the line there when she's bartering. She's like, "I got a tribe to feed."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
So leaning into that whole tribe thing.
Well, I mean, we had so much development with the Tusken Raiders. It's interesting to see just that much more, a little more development with the Jawa.
Yeah, and this further develops, like we had Pelimato remarking, you know, I dated a Jawa, saying, you know, they're males, but now
Yeah,
we have our
yeah.
confirmed female Jawa,
And they retconned
Yeah.
their
and her hands
furriness.
are less hairy.
I never picked up
When
on
you see
that.
her rooting around in the cart,
Yeah, yeah.
there's no visible hair stick. So either she's wearing gloves or,
That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but
That makes you wonder if that's a conscious choice to differentiate them like that, to do it that way.
it could be. But Obi-Wan, you know, he inspects the belt, and Tika tells him that a Jedi escaped across the Dune Sea fleeing from Inquisitors. So I think that further cements that it is his ship.
The amount of time that he spends, and I know it's that, what do you call it? It's an elongated pause, but like holding the leather in his hand and looking at it forlornly
Yeah.
Mhm.
is like this, like, oh, I almost am like, is that his own belt? Like,
I
that's
thought
why
that
I'm like,
for a
did he
second.
did he bury a ship in the desert and the Jawas have just found it and they're
Right.
literally handing him his own belt?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what,
they
that's
hand
what
his
made
own
me
parts.
question whether.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But no, I believe this is
it's a
The
good
new
thing he
guys.
doesn't have Cal Kestis's ability either to like touch the object and have a.
Oh, like psychometry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tika remarks that she hopes that more of them will come because it's good for business, but Obi-Wan shuts her down and says, you know, I've heard the Jedi are all but extinct. And he hands her back the belt, and she tells him once more, you stink. And with credits in hand, Tika leaves, and we flash forward to that night where we find Obi sleeping on a bedroll in the cave.
Yeah, that's
So,
right. The images we got from Entertainment Weekly, I think we got those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That night, Ben is plagued by nightmares of Anakin burning, Qui-Gon Jinn dying, Padme dying, flashes of earlier times, and he wakes up in the dark and calls out to Qui-Gon. But no response. He's utterly alone in the cave.
So again, the whole broken man thing, and this is something that we talked about. Hank, you and I mentioned this earlier during the week. This is a prime example of a soldier with PTSD.
100%.
He's having nightmares.
Yeah.
The deeper question is, as we've already established, it's 10 years later.
Mhm.
Master Yoda said, in your exile training for you, I have
Yes.
an old friend has come back from the void.
So he's still trying to learn that.
In 10 years.
Still hasn't got it.
What's interesting though is that there's another component to that, because part of the communing process is the want to be communicated with from the ether.
Mm-hmm.
Is Qui-Gon in his not communing with Obi-Wan, trying to teach him something still, even in death?
Intentionally holding out until
Yeah,
they get his
yeah,
shit
yeah, yeah.
together.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah,
pull
I
out her Ben.
100% agree with that. I think you're going to get like Obi's going to experience something that's going to connect him back to that, and that's when Qui-Gon will reveal himself. You know,
Yeah.
when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that theme. The next morning, though, we find a scurrier rooting around as we see Obi-Wan has tried his Eope traveling across the sand. And we find that Obi has made his way to a rocky formation, and entering through a cave, he takes a seat on the rocks on the other side.
Question about the scurrier.
Sure.
We've seen scurriers before.
We have.
Have we ever seen a scurrier with antlers before?
I don't recall.
I believe this is the first time we're seeing this.
A longhorn.
Yeah, like normally they're just like little kangaroo mice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the most up-to-date stuff says that they can have antlers. And so now I'm like, is this a case, Is it like deer, where the majority of deer only the males have antlers, or are they reindeer, where like males and females have antlers?
Maybe.
Cool.
Maybe it's just such a minor thing, but at the same time, you see that and you kind of go, oh, that's new.
Yeah. Got another comment here from Sean. He wouldn't show up until episode 5. Yeah, it makes sense.
5, 6, towards the end anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you. I was hoping for a much sooner. You know, I kind of thought that maybe a communing with Qui-Gon might be the catalyst to get
Punch
going.
forward.
Yeah,
I wasn't even. I mean, you think about it in the background, but I wasn't really even entertaining the thoughts of Qui-Gon until
Right
I
off
read
the
an
bat.
article where Liam Neeson was like, "I'll never do television. Don't be ridiculous. I'm a film actor." And I thought, "Oh yeah, he's going to be in this 100%."
Ewan McGregor confirmed for the new Star Wars animated series, Tales of the Jedi, voiceover work. Anyway, animated series.
Cool.
That's for another show.
Yeah. But for our show, as it turns out, Obi is now overlooking the dwelling of Owen and Beru and a now mischievous young Luke Skywalker, played by Grant Feely.
Can we call it Skywalker Ranch? Are we allowed?
I think
I don't know.
I still think of it a Skywalker Ranch. I still think of it as the
Lars
homestead or the Lars
Mhm.
farm. Yeah,
moisture farm. But while they're doing some chores, Owen turns his back and Luke darts off. And Obi spots him through those macro binoculars on one of the arches. And like his father before him, he's dreaming of being a pilot. And you guys had mentioned this before in the trailer breakdown. Those are the binoculars left over from his gear used during the Clone Wars.
I firmly believe
that
that is. Yeah.
100%.
So after dark, he rides up into the farm silently and leaves that little T-16 Skyhopper toy by the entrance. And he pauses for a moment, glancing in like, should I go in? But then he opts not to and turns and rides back through the moonlit desert. But as he's riding through the canyon, he senses that he's being watched.
And I feel like, so there's a lot that, do I save this for later?
Maybe.
There's a line of recognition in A New Hope where Luke, clearly after he's been assaulted by the Sand People, wakes up and sees Ben Kenobi. Luke knows Ben.
100%.
Are we going to get some of that relationship development in this series?
Maybe.
Perhaps. I think that we opted to go the other direction, if you will.
Yep.
Based on what's coming up, yeah.
But certainly in the comics, there's quite a few. Luke finds Obi-Wan's journal as an adult, and there are several references to instances where Obi-Wan has put himself inside Luke's life to help him, and a couple of times without Luke knowing, and a few times like blatantly, like saving him from Tusken Raiders, etc.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Oh, so Luke has a habit of getting himself into trouble.
Yeah, it's a theme.
Runs in the family. But turns out he is being watched.
I love the camera work in that sequence. The shaky camera from behind the rocks, like the Jawas when they were, back in A New Hope.
Yeah,
I love that
when they were.
Exactly.
Now I wondered if this was the same canyon, but I guess there's no real way to tell. Other than, it's close to the homestead.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
But turns out it is the Jedi who escaped the Inquisitors earlier, and he calls out, Obi-Wan, Master.
Yeah, Master.
But Obi insists, you're mistaken. And he introduces himself as Nari. And he displays his lightsaber and says, there's no mistaking you. But Obi-Wan says, you're looking for someone else.
Yeah.
My name is Ben. And he's begging at this point, for help. Because he's on the run, he has nowhere else to go. So Obi dismounts, he strides over and says, if you want some help, take that thing, walk into the middle of the desert, bury it in the ground, and go live a normal life.
Live a normal life.
Stay hidden. But trying to appeal to his Jedi code, Neri asks him, what about the people that need us? What about the people we lost? What about the fight? But coldly, Obi-Wan says, the fight is done. We lost. And Neri, he questions, what happened to you? You were once a great Jedi. But as he remounts his Yopi, Obi says the time of the Jedi is over. So again, kind of mirroring that Luke thing.
You know, in that moment, Neri is us as the viewer. You know,
More.
he's asking the same questions that we would. What happened to you?
At the same
Yeah,
time, he's
absolutely.
asking the same questions Rey did of Luke.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go. There's that rhyming stanza, that cyclic
There it
nature
is.
of Star Wars.
yeah. But he instructs Neri, go back to town and let it go, leaving him alone in the canyon. But Neri
How many masters died protecting their Padawans like this? Clearly, he's maybe his early 20s, so he had to have been, anywhere from 10 to an early teenager when Order 66 occurred. And
I mean,
that
he's
seems to be a sort of a thing,
he's like another Kanan Jarrus, maybe.
Yeah, more.
I thought maybe he could be one of those young
seem
ones.
to have escaped than
Yep.
Jedi.
Yeah,
that's possible. That's possible.
But Nari is played by actor-director Benny Safdie. His other work includes acting roles in Good Time and Licorice Pizza, and directing the films Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler and Daddy Longlegs.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
He's also got a TV series project in pre-production where he's both acting and directing, and that's called The Curse.
Nice.
So if you want to follow more of him, keep your eye on him. We shift gears, though, and it's a serene, futuristic city set amongst the trees and the mountains. It's Alderaan.
Holy smokes, is
Finally get to see
Alderaan ever beautiful?
Yeah.
In all the ways that you want it to be, that you never expected, but you look at it and it feels like, oh yeah, this is my happy place.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I want.
We get the briefest glimpse in Revenge of the Sith, but yeah.
But makes it all the more worse that, it got blowed up. But
Load up real good.
Yeah. Inside the palace, we see 3 handmaidens attending to a young girl, and they dress her in fine apparel, and they finish up just as the queen arrives. And Queen Brea Organa is played by New Zealand actress Simone Kessel.
Yep.
She asks, how's she doing? And they reply, she's ready. Brea remarks that her sister and the whole family are on their way, and they need the support. So as she goes to drag the child out of the room, she says, try not to make anyone cry. And
can't imagine why.
Well, I got some ideas here. But as Brea leads her out of the room, she notices there's scales on her hands and quickly removes the hood, and it is not her child, but an Emerusian. Now, I could not find them, but that's what the description.
Is this another new? So again, there's
new
a couple.
species.
Yeah, I was going to say there are a couple new elements that have come up in these first 2 episodes, and this may just be one of them.
Yeah, because I couldn't even nail down the spelling of the species, but
Also
child.
Awesome that it's her real mom's sort of trick. Padme used to use doubles all the time.
Well, this is it. There's the whole handmaiden shtick, right? Where Padme, I mean,
even
for different
palette,
reasons,
the burgundy palette is very similar.
Yeah, it's very much.
Yeah, and the child, she says up to her, she insisted you would find this amusing, but she doesn't. The search is on, and we catch up with little Leia first, played by Vivian Lyra Blair, and she's running through the forest with her little droid in pursuit. She reaches a tree, begins to climb, and finally takes a seat high up, and we get a great look at the little droid known as Lola, or LOLA 59.
LOLA 59.
Yeah.
I was watching TV the other night, and Lola was introduced in a European Volkswagen commercial recently.
Really?
I didn't even realize it. I'm like, oh, okay, so somebody's getting a new droid. Oddly enough, it's a relaunch. Volkswagen's doing a new electric bus.
Yes.
And it was Ewan McGregor's driving the bus.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, Lola's in it.
Yeah, but you can't help but notice the similarities to the aliens from the film Batteries Not Included. You had pointed this out, and after looking at them again, it's like, yeah.
You go back and there's a Batteries Not Included robot virtual museum, and you can go and look at the models for the robots. And there is one of the robots, I swear, they literally took the legs from that golden robot, stuck it onto Lola. There you go.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about oh my gosh, Vivian Lyra Blair. In a word, amazing.
Scene stealer.
Wow.
I cannot. I did. Bird Box, was that the thing that she was in? She was in. I think she was in something recently. I want to say Bird Box
with Sandra Bullock,
which I did not watch because, as you guys may or may not know, I'm kind of horror averse, so I kind of stayed away from that. But holy crap! As far as child actors go, this girl has a very, very, very budding career ahead of her. She is simply just outstanding in everything. I think Carrie Fisher would absolutely love her.
Yes.
Oh, that's yeah.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah. 10 going on 100 for sure.
I want to talk about a callback here. Get a pretty good look at her. There's a thing with young Leia here. Particularly, look at her hair. double braids that are pulled back up. It's very reminiscent of her look on Hoth as she's going into Bespin. And I feel like this jumpsuit is a callback to the Hoth jumpsuit.
With the, I guess, subtraction of the outer.
With the jacket taken off. Yeah. But the creamy white jumpsuit.
Very similar.
Yeah. And then she's going to have another one here later on. Yeah.
But up in the tree, she begins ship watching and she spots a medical freighter and a pleasure cruiser, casino ship similar to the one we saw in The Last Jedi.
Yep.
And finally a tri-wing, which she thinks could be piloted by a Quillian Ranger.
Yeah.
And thinks that they could be scouting for mercenary pirates who were active during the Clone Wars and the early Galactic Empire.
There's a few cool things going on here with that. I don't, Hank, you want to go first?
Just they're both references. One is Marvel comic book reference to the pirates, and the other one is a Legends reference to the ship.
So I'm going to start talking about that ship first.
Yeah, just hold on.
You've got it. Oh, good.
Attaboy.
Yeah. The pirates, though, they were encouraged by Count Dooku to harass and disrupt supply lines to the Galactic Republic.
Yeah.
So they were,
they sided with the separatists. Yeah.
But that ship, the Tri-Wing S-91X Pegasus Starfighter, or simply known as the Tri-Wing, was manufactured by the Incom Corporation.
Yeah, the same guys who make the...
Yeah, they make a whole array of ships throughout the galaxy.
Including the X-Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the real world design
okay, you got it. That's awesome.
It comes from a collaboration between car maker Porsche and Lucasfilm.
That's incredible.
Yeah. They joined up to create the Starship as part of the marketing for Rise of Skywalker, and it was stated that in a release from Porsche, the ship would be used in future Star Wars media, and here we are.
It's a few years later, but it's finally made its way in.
It's in there now, yeah.
And it's awesome. Do you get anything on the Rangers?
I kind of shied away from the Rangers.
Okay, so I've got a little bit for you on the she refers to them as the Aquilian Rangers. Now, the Aquilian Rangers, this is an early concept that George Lucas ultimately abandoned, but later on in Legends, there's another organization, the Antarian Rangers, who essentially, in name and function, essentially are the Aquilian Rangers. They're essentially allies to the Jedi, and they supported the peacekeeping effort and basically hunted bad guys, almost like privateers, really.
I think the Rangers are name dropped in the original novel, actually.
I would think so.
The Antarian Rangers, actually, their first mention is in the X-Wing novel series.
Nice.
Okay. I did read one thing, though, that some of the traits of the Aquilian Rangers were incorporated into Leia's character in A New Hope.
Oh, I could imagine that.
So,
yeah. Well, there's another thing too, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it seems like the appropriate thing. At the end of part 2, and I'm going way ahead now. Go to these coordinates; they will help you. So that's a huge question, and I know we're going to talk about that a whole lot. But could the Aquilian Rangers be the they that are spoken of? Maybe. Merson Pirates first introduced in the Marvel run of Star Wars back in June. Issue number 24, June 1977.
Yeah, nice. Awesome stuff.
Yeah. But back on Alderaan, before long, Queen Brea has caught up to her along with 2 guards, and they tell her, come down from the tree. And Leia, she acts all innocent, like she's done nothing wrong. And as she descends, Brea remarks it's like raising a Glorag. And we don't have much on this creature yet, other than the Quarren slaver, Boran Kall. was skilled in riding them.
Okay, but we've never
And that-
seen them before.
No, we have not.
Nice.
They make their way back to the palace, and Leia's all apologetic, tells her mother that she won't do it again, and she goes in for a hug, like proper little thing.
Yeah.
But Brea's expression turns to a frown, and Leia was only doing it to retrieve Lola.
I can feel you doing that.
Yeah,
Pickpocket.
yeah.
Awesome.
So, and she got this cheeky little grin on her afterwards, right?
She's just amazing. I can't say enough good things about this kid.
Yeah. But we pull back, and hidden in the forest is a man with circuitry in his head, and he watches them.
Well, again, remember when I said how wrong I was? Because that is the back of the head that I'm sure we saw in the trailer
100%.
later on Dayu that I thought might have been our friend Echo. But,
I still think there's a chance.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Based on
You
the
never know.
trailer,
You never
because
know.
There was that hand, right?
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. But we cut back to Tatooine, and we find Obi-Wan going about his routine again, taking a slice of Jakkusk meat, cleaning a knife, and riding back to Anchorhead.
This is what the second round
time.
of going to work.
Yeah, and he gets noticeably more disheveled the more times we see this cycle repeat.
Yeah.
Back in the stall though with his Eope, a satchel. This part makes Hank cry, but a satchel with a skyhopper. It lands on the ground at his feet, and it's been tossed at him by Owen Lars, played by Joel Edgerton. And Owen tells him, stay away, leave the boy alone.
He's so much closer to A New Hope Uncle Owen here than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah. I get the feeling that he's soured over the years. Like,
absolutely. I mean, it's going to come up later on in the episode, but there's some talk about, failures, and Owen is just, is a willing, participant to point out everybody else's.
Yeah. Well, he does here too.
Yeah.
Obi insists that, it's just a toy, but he's like, no, it's much more than that. And when Obi asks, is Luke all right? He snaps back, you don't care. You're only concerned if the boy is showing signs. And Obi, he reasserts, Luke is my responsibility. But Owen states his position that he's the uncle and he knows best. And he reminds him, we talked about this. When the time came, the boy was to be trained. And then insultingly, he throws it at him like you trained his father.
It's the hottest
It is so powerful, though.
Yeah, jab that knife in there and twist.
Yeah, like if that's not painful for Ben.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about? I'm going to go back to the T-16 for a second here.
Sure.
Because now that we've had it thrown at his feet,
and it seems broken.
So again, Onion, my friends, Onion.
Yes.
Onion has layers. So many layers. It's just a toy. Wow, what a contrast from Attachments Are Forbidden.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, again, we talk about what has happened to Ben in the 10 years that he's been in exile. Clearly, his ideology has shifted, and he doesn't feel the same way about what it means to be a Jedi, what it means to be a man.
Mm.
Suddenly, a toy for a child who is of the appropriate age to be trained is okay.
Yeah.
It almost made me cry at that. It's just a toy.
Yeah.
And not only did I feel bad for Ben, I felt bad for Luke.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because at the same time, it does seem like Owen is trying to shield him from everything.
Yeah.
Like, don't let him know that there's stuff beyond the farm.
Oh my God, yeah.
We got one more from Sean here.
Sean says, hey, did you guys know the person that came up with the drawings for movies of the spaceship passed away this week? Sean, I'm not sure who you're talking about. Do you guys know what he's referring to?
But I can't for the life of me remember his name.
Yeah, that's horrible.
We're not talking about Doug Chang.
No. He was 90 years old. He designed the Death Star and the X-Wing.
Okay. Yes.
I can't recall the gentleman's name.
I cannot tell you his name either, but I think I did see
a giant
headline.
link in the show after.
Yeah. We'll make a social media post on that.
Yeah, because we suck. Yes.
But he plainly tells Ben, leave the boy on the farm with his family. And
where he belongs.
Yeah. Oh, and he turns to leave, and down the street we hear that the Inquisitors are approaching, and Obi-Wan, he takes cover.
Yeah, in the back of the stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out on the street, though, the fifth brother and the third sister make their way through the crowd. And again, they present different methods. The fifth brother, he states, rewards will be given for information, while the third sister immediately threatens punishment. Hands go first.
It's interesting to see the different methodologies between the Inquisitors,
Yeah.
and we're going to see a lot more of that. But like the notion that there is an established chain of command within the Inquisitorius,
Yeah.
I find that to be very fascinating, giving the
number ranking.
Well, not only the number, but the interpersonal relationships and the interactions between them.
Yeah, it speaks to the fact that the numbers may just be assigned by the order that you get them.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like there's been several third sisters, if you will.
Yeah.
But one of the locals shoots off and states, "You have no authority in the Outer Rim." And Riva, without missing a beat, slices off her hand. So, it's not Star Wars unless somebody loses a hand, right?
Isn't that another sharp contrast to the Outer Rim being this
Lawless
lawless Wild West, as it were? Apparently not when the Inquisitors are in town.
Yeah. Then you line up. But Owen, he steals a glance at Riva and she confronts him. She asks, do you know where the Jedi is? And he states his disgust with the Jedi, referring to them as vermin, and vermin are killed on his farm. And then she agrees, but at the same time she challenges. He says, "Do you think you can protect them from me?"
Yeah.
And he doesn't flinch, but she backs off, and then she threatens to kill Owen and the entire family if the people don't turn over the Jedi. And the fifth brother, he kind of looks on with disapproval. And Riva, she lights up her blade and holds it to him, telling the people that the Jedi aren't worth their protection. They wouldn't do the same for you. And finally, the fifth brother, he yells, "Enough," slams down the bounty puck with the image of Nari on it.
Yep.
And restates that rewards will be given for information. The Orabesh on the puck, though, is pretty simple this week. It's Naria, or Nari, his name, and a reward of 100,000 credits.
I find that the whole notion is interesting because this is something that comes up again later on in this episode as well, is money used to motivate people. And we talk about the propaganda machine that came up a lot in the Bad Batch, how quickly people were to turn and to forget.
Yeah, what just happened.
When there's money involved and you got to put food on the table, well, that's a pretty good motivator.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah. Also, the fear of being cut in half by a random person with a red lightsaber.
Yeah, I like my hands. I like to keep them.
Yeah. But the Inquisitors, they move to leave, and Owen breathes a sigh of relief. And in an alley, the fifth brother, he's furious and pacing. And once Riva walks in, he slams her against the wall and tells her she's too impulsive.
Right.
But then she states her case that they shouldn't even be on this planet. It's beneath them. And he notes, "You're still after Kenobi. The Grand Inquisitor was right. But Kenobi's gone." Sorry.
No, I'm interrupting you. The Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor at the beginning says, "You're reckless," and then he says impulsive. And these are things we've heard Jedi Masters tell Padawans.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's the reckless youth is an issue for both sides, I guess.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But the fifth brother goes on and says, "We've been chasing him for 10 years."
So again, there we go. I mean, I guess that sort of in a way, not way, they've been around for 10 years. So the Inquisitorius sprung up almost immediately,
if not possibly before, because what she says in the second episode, she knows.
Yeah.
And maybe he was, kind of pulling a few strings.
Yeah, maybe
before the full transition to Vader.
I guess so. Sure.
But, when he asks her, "What do you expect to gain if you should ever catch him?" And she says, "What I'm owed."
What do you think? So that's a huge line.
That's a big question. What is she owed?
If we're going to base this on the notion that Riva is the Padawan youngling at the beginning, what does she think she's owed at this point?
Yeah. Because literally the only one who wants Kenobi is Vader, right? So what can she
Yeah.
what can she barter from him with that particular chip?
I spent some time thinking about this in the sense that, like, you know, at her age, she was sort of the oldest kid. Now, I'm just assuming that in fact that she is that girl.
Yeah.
She was the oldest of the bunch. She was probably a leader, and maybe those other kids, maybe they all didn't make it, and maybe she's got, you know, some resentment, knowing especially that Obi-Wan was the one. It's Obi-Wan's face on that hollow in the temple. Stay away, our Jedi order is over.
Yeah.
Is there some resentment there for not
Maybe.
doing more, for not coming back for them?
It's possible.
Is that what she feels like she's owed, like an explanation? Or
Maybe.
you left me to hang and now I'm gonna get you for it?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
think it's revenge for failing to save her.
Yeah, great. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think so. And Vader's got a way of taking that and twisting it to, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he learned from the master manipulator.
True. But the fifth brother, you know, he offers a warning that Reva goes too far. And she retorts, maybe you guys don't go far enough.
Yeah.
And back on the street, we see Obi-Wan moves out and thanks Owen. And in the distance, we see the ship take off.
Yep.
And Owen states outright, I didn't do it for you.
I didn't do it for you.
And he leaves.
Yeah.
Then we shift gears again, and we're back on Alderaan, and there's a shuttle approaching. And it flies past the many towers and comes to land on a platform where Senator Bail Organa, played by Jimmy Smits, is waiting. And just as it lands, Leia and Brea both arrive.
Oh yeah, the whole you're gonna have to change in the car bit.
Yeah, you're gonna have to change in the speeder. But the ramp lowers, and Brea's sister, Duchess Selly Organa, and Duke Ko Organa depart from the ship with their family in tow. And Leia says a polite hello to her cousin, Niano, but he only nods in return and looks away. Next up, we follow the procession of speeders back to the palace. And Leia, she's, you know, doing that thing like they said, waving to the onlookers.
She is.
Because that came up earlier. They said, you know, I just wave. They're like, we'll do more than wave.
Do more than wave, yeah.
But
so she smiles and waves?
Yeah.
You can hear the crowd yelling, "Princess, princess."
Yeah, so
Right,
already
yeah.
you know that like
Yeah.
people are in for her.
She's adored.
Yeah. But once inside the palace, we all see all sorts of dignitaries. They're conversing, making pleasantries, and we get a good sense of the Duke's character as he's more concerned with getting his pockets lined by the Empire
there it is.
and eating Bale's food.
He says, "Nice to see that the Empire's finally lining certain pockets,
Yeah.
or some pockets." I think is the line.
Yeah.
There's even a legacy line here. I didn't come to free the slaves.
Ah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Bale goes back to there's still things to discuss.
Yeah, slavery
slavery
and
and
taxation of the Outer Rim.
taxation. And I'm like, oh, the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. He's like, save your bleeding heart for the Senate.
Right.
Maybe we will get that political movie we've been
Maybe.
that political thriller.
At least a half moment of it. But as we pan around the room, we find that none other than C-3PO, portrayed again by Anthony Daniels, is acting as a translator between two alien parties. And a new droid, a YO,
another protocol droid.
Yeah, is bringing hors d'oeuvres to Leia at the kids' table, which it certainly seems like. But she thanks the droid for it. And Niano, he balks at the idea of thanking a droid.
Yeah.
And she says, it's just good manners. And he says, you don't need good manners when you're talking to a lower life form. And she fires right back. Then I guess I don't need good manners when I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
She's on point. Again, just yes.
Yeah.
So if the white overalls were her Hoth jumpsuit, this little dress is her Bespin dress.
Yeah, fully.
Right down to the little shoes.
Yeah.
There's more of that action in the second episode.
Yes,
too.
there is. Oh,
Yeah.
You better believe I picked up on that.
Yeah, man.
Insulted, Niano, he takes to telling Leia that I know things and you're not a real Organa. But she flips it pretty quick using perception well beyond her years and shutting him down in the process. Later on, we can see that Niano has run off and told his parents because she's in her bedroom with Brea and Bale. And they're telling her, you got to
something
apologize.
about he was being awful.
Yeah, he was being awful to everyone, and he was rude to the droids. But they say, you got to apologize. And Leia, she states, I'd rather be digested by a Jacko beast.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, Jacko Beasts, originally introduced in the current canon in the 2018 Star Wars role-playing sourcebook, Dawn of the Rebellion, published by Fantasy Flight Games.
Yep.
The fur of the animal did make an appearance in The Rise of Skywalker, but
I did read
no
that.
full beast. Originally, though, these were introduced first in the 2002 Power of the Jedi sourcebook.
Yeah.
So they've been around for a hot minute.
What's funny is when you see that photo, and that is the photo right out of the of that book.
Yeah.
You see what looks like a giant a saber-tooth tiger. You don't think herd animal.
No.
But it is a herd animal. And these animals, at least in the old legends, are force sensitive. In fact, their horns can use a variation of the force push. Basically, what happens is when the herd is threatened, all the males will circle the herd facing out, and they will use the force to push away whatever the attacker is. So, kind of a cool creature.
Back in Leia's room, flustered, Brea leaves. And Leia, she stares out the balcony, but Bail approaches her for a heart-to-heart and tells her some of his childhood plans. And she questions, what happened?
Yeah.
He says, I grew up and I began chasing your mother. And then she echoes what Niano said, that she's not a real Organa.
Yeah.
But he shuts her right down. He says, don't you ever say that. You're an Organa in every way possible. And after agreeing that she should still go apologize, he says, I'm going to go wait for you downstairs. But she's got a twinkle in her eye, and, we see in a second, she runs off into the forest again.
He says something he points out to like the mountain range, and he's like, I wanted to
live out
move
there,
out past Kothu or whatever he calls it. And then did you pay attention to what he says? I want to chase Purgle. Space whales.
Missed that one.
Yeah, I wanted to chase space whales.
So, can we talk a bit about Purgle just real quick then?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
since he name drops it, I was going to talk about it earlier when we thought that creature might have been one.
Was a Purgle,
These are the creatures that inspired hyperspace travel. They can travel through hyperspace innately,
naturally,
through some sort of biological mechanism, and of course they're the last time we see Ezra, a Purgle has Thrawn wrapped up, attached to the front of his Star Destroyer when they actually jump through hyperspace. And his reference to chasing Purgles, it might be like colloquial. It might be the idea that I wanted to explore the galaxy.
Yeah, I wanted to be out there.
That's sort of like Harris's spacefarers hate them. But young, impressionable, Luke Skywalker-esque.
Head in the clouds.
Exactly. Would dream of chasing Purgle, because literally that's jumping through hyperspace.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that analogy. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. But, downstairs in the palace, Bail informs Brea that Leia has run off again, and they dispatch some guards to go find her. And Leia, she doesn't get too far down the path before she encounters the man with the circuitry in the back of his head.
Yep.
His name is Vect Norku, or Nakru. Sorry.
Nakru. Yeah, I struggled with it too.
But he's played by the bassist of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea.
Yeah. Flea, who, by the way, is already an accomplished actor. So, I mean, if this is your first time seeing Flea on film,
it's not.
It shouldn't.
How's it hanging, McFly?
Well, that's what I mean. Like all the way back to Back to the Future, and it's been a bunch of other things. Yeah.
All of the Chili Peppers were in Point Break, actually.
But he tells Leia that he's been waiting for her. And then real quick, two others approach from behind, and she's surrounded, but she quickly darts off into the forest. It's clear Leia knows her way around this place because she's able to evade capture, ducking under branches and overfelled logs. She slips through the grip of both the male mercenary, played by Aviel A. Young, and the green-skinned female mercenary, played by Amy Sturdivant.
Man, we struggle with some of these names.
But before long, she spots a guard and cries out help, but Vec guns him down, and this gives them the opportunity to close in and capture Leia. They put her bag over her head, and she goes black.
Just a side note about that. Did we know that I'm assuming this was a conscious thing, but notice that the uniforms of the Alderaan security forces are the exact same color palette as the New Republic.
Yes.
I did not take that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has to be some sort of like nod to like the sacrifice of Alderaan,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which I think
Absolutely.
is super cool.
Yeah, that would make total sense.
Which, by the way, now that we're talking about this, does this fly in the face? Because now I have some questions. Does this fly in the face of Leia? No, Alderaan is a peaceful planet. We have no weapons. Was she lying to save her planet, or are we talking like the Alderaanian army really is just a glorified police force?
I'd have to rewatch or look closely at that slide, but I don't think that trooper has a sidearm. It could be like British cops.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I think the army is her idealism.
Maybe.
And I don't want to get into it because it's in the second episode, but
Yeah.
like when she invokes an army, it's more of like a child's like, he'll bring an army.
Yeah.
So I don't think that she's necessarily,
She might be bending the truth because let's
Right.
face it, she is a politician.
That
And
well,
in
yeah,
that
yeah,
moment,
yeah.
she needs to save the planet, right?
that's true.
So anything to try, right?
Well, that's what I thought too. I mean, keep in mind, Luke and Leia are the same age. So, I mean, she's what, 16 years old in A New Hope, somewhere between what, 16 and 18,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Somewhere, yeah.
you would probably say anything at that point if you knew that your mother, your father, everybody you knew, everybody you loved is about to be snuffed out in an instant.
Yeah.
I know I would.
Mhm.
Yeah. Struggled with this for a while because I could not for the life of me identify. I feel like we've seen this guy's species before, the gentleman with the horned head.
Yeah.
The male
We've
mercenary.
seen similar in the Mandalorian, but his
Yeah,
horn
yeah.
configuration was like kind of everywhere.
Are we talking the guy from the wanted
Zabrak.
posters?
Uh,
Well, Zabrak was I'm like, is this a Zabrak who's paired
Right.
off a bunch of his horns? But it doesn't look like that.
no.
No.
I'm like, is this a Kalatuinian? But his features are not dog enough.
No.
No.
But I am 99% certain that woman is a Falleen.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, and that's super cool. First live action
Super
appearance
cool.
of Falleen. I mean, if you don't know about the Falleen, obviously from going back to like Rebels and in Clone Wars and Legends before that, Prince
Shadows of the
Shizor.
Empire.
Yeah, Prince Shizor and the Black Sun Crime Syndicate were run by the Falleen. Biologically speaking, the Falleen have a basically exude chemical pheromones that make them more attractive to other sapient species. In fact, in the novel Shadows of the Empire, Prince Shizor tries to woo Leia with his pheromones. And she kind of almost goes for it.
Yeah.
Well, too many Captain Kirks out there. They'd be down for it anyway.
Well, the whole Kirk and Green Women.
Yes. Sean throws us another comment here. I couldn't believe Flea was in the show.
Yeah.
It caught
I
me
mean,
off guard when I saw him. I was like, is that Flea? Yeah, it is.
it's interesting when high profile productions are able to maintain like those little mystery
Rolls.
Yeah. And then it comes out and it's like that. Aha. It was a pretty cool reveal.
Yeah. Back on Tatooine, Obi-Wan, he hears a beeping coming from a long forgotten box of possessions.
Yep.
And he opens it up and opens up another lockbox inside. And there he finds an old holo communicator.
Yep.
And it's Bail and Brea calling him for help. And again, another one of those parallels. This is right up there with the Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Yeah. Definite Clone War era holo projector there.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same one that they all had. They all carried it.
Yeah.
I think it was introduced in the Phantom Menace.
They're pleading with him that he's the only one who knows how important she is. Anybody else is going to draw too much attention to this.
Yeah.
And at this point, we can see it in his eyes. He is very much haunted and broken. And he tells them, it's been 10 years. I'm not who I used to be.
So this is the first time that he's acknowledged
We're seeing
out
the
loud.
cracks on the surface.
Yeah, that he's acknowledged out loud to us as the viewers. I'm not the man I was.
Yeah.
And as much as you as much as you're watching it and you're aware of that, I mean, to me, as soon as he says it, it's a punch in
Yeah.
the face. Like, oh yeah, okay.
All those other pieces we already saw is like,
Yeah.
they just fell right into place. But he tells them, find somebody else. She'll be better off for it.
Yeah.
And-
Well, so there you go. Shadow of his former self.
yeah.
Who else is there?
Yeah.
Find somebody else. Who, Ben? Who?
Well, it says send the army, send a bounty hunter,
Yeah.
maybe a clone.
Maybe a clone. Yeah. Maybe a clone force 99.
Maybe. If you can find them.
Yeah. Maybe you can hire
The Bad Batch.
the B team.
But we switch up again, and we're back in space, and we catch up with the kidnappers, and they've taken Leia on. They secure her to a chair and lock her in a room. Things do not look good for her right now.
No, they do not.
And I couldn't figure out what type of ship they were particularly rocking, but
No, me neither. But it looks like a
zip
cool
by.
design. I hope we get to see the model for that a little bit better.
Yeah.
I will say this: that chair that she's strapped to, that's going to come back later on.
Think so?
I know so.
Mhm.
It's the exact same chair that she's sitting on in part 2.
Okay.
I would hazard to say that the cell that she is sitting in is the same set used in part 2 that for the cell that she's kept prisoner in.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, she's kept prisoner part 2.
We'll get there soon.
You guys have already seen it. You know what I'm talking about.
There's a part 2.
Yeah.
Just the same as that hallway. I mean, that's a redressing of the set for the back of the drug lab.
Mm.
Like that's the same sliding door. But I see more and more. The more of Star Wars TV that I watch, the more I'm seeing this stuff, and the more I'm like, oh, what a clever way to do that.
Yeah. Save money,
Yeah, absolutely.
recycle. We switch again though, and we're back on Tatooine, and again Ben is going about his routine, but we can see now more so now that he is troubled by everything that's happened.
So this is our third
go
round
through the
trip
routine.
from work. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
And,
extremely harrowed.
On the ride back to Anchorhead, you can see the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
town, the locals, they're staring up at a hanging corpse from an archway. And Obi-Wan, he arrives in the street, and we find out that it is Nari. So
I gotta say, the trailer made this moment out to be way more sinister than what it actually is, because the way that he's strung up, like, come on, we had heads on a pike
yeah,
in The Mandalorian, and I thought they literally hung a dude, like at high noon, and it's like, oh no, he's strung up around the chest and under his arms, and I'm like, oh,
and he
okay.
seems to be intact.
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah.
Blade Happy Reva running around there.
Well, I mean, there is this like predilection for dark side users and
True.
and crushing things, and
Especially
knows,
with
yeah.
the amount of force the Grand Inquisitor was
well,
exhibiting.
yeah.
But Obi-Wan, he lowers his head and just kind of shies away. And we catch up with him on the way back to the cave.
Yeah.
And the little sensor pops up and it shows red. So someone has been in or is still inside the cave.
And then he walks inside.
Yeah, it still
and,
goes in anyway, just cautiously.
Yep. Well, I
So-
still got to go home. It's my house.
Yeah, there's the hints of it. I got to go in.
Well,
but,
not the lightsaber colors too. The meanings of color.
Yeah. Blue
is
good,
good.
red bad.
Yeah.
A dude there in a big flowing robe. Anybody else go, holy shit, another Jedi?
I did go, holy shit,
Yeah,
another
yeah,
Jedi
yeah.
for a split second. Yeah.
Yeah. Cloaked figure standing in the cave there, and he pulls back his hood and reveals that it is Bail. He's come to petition Ben for help in person, and they now have a clue that they were able to trace the ship's signal, and it's on its way to Daiyu. But Obi insists that Bail should not have come. And when he restates that, he's not the guy he used to be, Bail just fires at him. You have to be. You couldn't save Anakin, but you can save Leia.
Oh, another shot.
And this is telling on Obi's part. He says, but what if I can't? So his confidence in himself is completely shot.
Yeah.
And Bail says, I've got all the confidence. You're the only one I would trust with my child.
The notion of losing, now this is more than just losing a student, because that would be traumatic enough.
Yeah.
the thought of losing a soldier, soldiers in positions of leadership, it happens all the time. It affects you, but like this is more than that.
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker, as Obi-Wan says, you were my brother.
Yeah.
He's the, not student, soldier, brother. Like, of course it's affected him. Of course he's not the same guy that he was.
Yeah.
And there's another, like, a layer, and we all understand that he didn't. But as far as Obi-Wan knows, he killed that man.
That's right. Yeah. Anakin Skywalker is dead.
Well, Bale even says, he's dead. Put it in the past and move on.
Yeah.
But he ends with, do it for her, my old friend. One last fight.
What I do find interesting in this is that Bale is, and we saw maybe a little bit of this in Rogue One. He's a pragmatist, and he's fully aware of his own faults, and yet he's still doing the job because he is still the senator for Alderaan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it behind you.
Sort of political sort of speak to try to lure Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the mention of that line, the one last fight, you can tell in this moment that part of that Jedi may have just been jarred back into where it should be.
Well, you gotta wonder, like, what are the moments that do that for him? Because definitely there's a couple points in part 2 where you kind of like go, there is still a glimmer, a glimpse of the man that was.
Yeah.
Is this one of those times?
I think this is one of those pieces getting put back in place.
Okay.
But we switch again. We switch a lot in the last little bit of the episode here. And the kidnapper ship, it approaches Dayu. And we find that Leia still has Lola in her pocket.
Yes.
And she brings the little droid back online and asks if Lola can cut a rope. And like all good droids, she busts out a little buzzsaw and proceeds to cut. But just then the door opens and, excuse me, Vec appears and he just grabs Lola and smashes her on the floor. Defiantly, Leia says, I'm not scared of you. But Flea says, give it time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she cries, my father will rescue me. He'll send a whole army after you.
There it is.
Army.
But, Vec, he doubts it and leaves Leia alone in the dark cell with the broken droid.
For the record, I think Lola's going to get repaired.
I would hope so.
I think I think Lola's a she. It's a female name.
Yeah.
I identify this droid as female, so that's what I'm going with. I think Lola's coming back. I hope Lola's coming back. She's cute, like a little, like a ladybug droid.
Well, they call her like a pet almost.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
don't want to lose your pet.
No, exactly.
So.
There's a certain amount of Disney stuff going on here too at the same time, right?
Yeah. There's a 1-to-1 scale Lola coming out, electronic Lola.
Oh, geez, does it hover?
Yeah, I don't know if it hovers or not, but it definitely
cool.
is a kid's role play item.
Nice. Back again on Tatooine, we find Obi-Wan. He's riding through the desert on his Eope.
Yep.
And he stops to survey the land before dismounting, walks a few paces, and he busts out a portable shovel and assembles it and begins to dig.
Yep.
And that's kind of a throwback to what he told.
Yeah. Go out to the middle of the desert and bury it.
Yeah. Forget about it.
Again, now, in another inverse scene of him juxtaposed against Rey.
Yeah.
She buries the
She buries
sabers
at the
for
end.
Two of
reverence,
them.
right? Both.
Yeah.
Well, so does he, but
And he's digging up
right,
2 of them.
right.
Yeah.
And hers is about reverence and sort of tradition and
Yeah.
putting away the past. And
It's like a final resting.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
so deep, actually, the way he's uncovering the past and the way
Oh my God, yeah.
Man, yeah, they do a good job there.
We switch again and back aboard the kidnapper ship. The male mercenary, he thinks it's a bad idea to be stealing kids and questions if it'll even work. But Vec tells him, we just need to get it over with, and he fires up the holo projector. And we don't get to see who it is yet, because we cut back to Tatooine. And Obi-Wan has hit pay dirt. He unearths a wooden box and dusts it off, opens it up, and reveals both his and Anakin's lightsaber.
Yeah, it's a cool moment too. I had this moment of Maz Kanata's castle. That's a tale for another time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are we going to get to that eventually?
And I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Anakin's lightsaber is on top, suggesting that he sort of put his in, and it took him a minute to like
to put the other one
you
down.
could sort of see him
Oh,
sitting
yeah.
there with Anakin's lightsaber before
Yeah,
putting it
yeah.
on top. Yeah, subtle but big.
Still there. We cut back again to the kidnappers, and this time we find out that the mastermind behind the whole kidnapping is the third sister, Reva. And she's on the holophone, and she relays that she knows the connection between Bail and Obi-Wan, insisting he will show.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's got her plan in motion, which will take place more in part 2. But we shift gears again. We're back on Tatooine, and Obi-Wan, he's making his way towards the spaceport in Mos Eisley, and he pulls out a translucent token and eyes it up for a minute.
Yeah.
And the gate attendant looks up and says, "Are you coming or not?" He pauses again for a moment before walking forward, offering the attendant the token. And then he pulls back his robe, and we see that the lightsaber is there at the ready.
Yeah.
He passes through the gate, walks toward the ship, and we cut to black.
What I like about that scene is, up until then, we've seen Ben with a poncho on. We see him at work with his apron on, and he's just Ben, the man, living his life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And in
This
this
is closer.
last moment, as he's about to embark on one last fight, it's not a Jedi robe,
But it's close.
but it is a robe,
Mhm.
and it evokes that
Yeah.
the Jedi is back.
I mean, he's open carrying his lightsaber.
Openly. Well, yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
like his robe is not
I
tied
know
up or
that's for us, the audience, but yeah, I mean, in the wrong
Openly swinging
state,
it.
Is
that
that
could get
thing
you in
licensed?
trouble. That could get you in trouble in the wrong state.
It's just a flashlight.
Yeah, exactly, and not lost on me that he's now looking exactly like the pre-order Black
The
Series figure.
The action figure. Wow. Okay, so part 1 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now that we've gone through the plot, and I know we've talked about most of the stuff as it came up, what do we think?
Really liked it. It felt like home.
Yeah,
Man, like I had said to you in the chat, the first time through, it was so emotional and so well acted and so well written. I barely noticed the Easter eggs. I'm the Easter egg guy, so I'm jumping out of my seats for Gundarks. I'm leaping out of my pants for different types of ships we've never seen before.
Right.
None of that had any effect on me because I was so deeply invested in the character's trauma.
Man,
and how well it was done. That I
feel exactly the same way.
Like wow, actually.
Yeah, there was just so much going on emotionally, and I mean, arguably you could say for the same reasons that I think a lot of people, kind of hated on Boba Fett, the amount of exposition. But in this one, it was just like
natural.
Yeah, nothing felt forced. Everything just was like, okay, this is what it needs to be.
No, especially the comedy.
Yeah.
No, they smashed this one out of the park. If there was any of the reported delays on it and blah blah blah, if any of them were to sharpen it to this level, then kudos.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because I forgot that there was actually a delay on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go back and rework things. And I think that the perception was, it's in trouble. No.
Yeah. No
way.
No. I had originally heard that it was so dark that they had to like tone it back.
Oh, really? Interesting.
We got one more from Sean here.
Sean says, when I saw the box with the sabers in it, it looked like the box in episode 7 with Luke's lightsaber. That's exactly what I was saying, Sean. Maz Kanata's castle.
I'll have to check my action figure against that. I have that case somewhere.
Well, she does say it's for a story for another
She does.
time.
It's
Maybe
a tale for another
too.
time.
Need the right box to store the right lightsaber.
Okay, this was a huge week for Star Wars.
It
We got
was.
Star Wars Celebration going on. Does it
Wow.
wrap up today? So many things happening. So many more announcements for TV projects. Lots of merchandising got kind of talked about over this weekend.
I couldn't believe you were awake at 7:30 your time when I hit you with the Ahsoka.
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't believe you were awake.
I was already coming around to the thought of we'd had such a bad internet connection yesterday that I was actually fearful that we would not have a show for tonight because of the Andy and I are on the same service provider. And I knew that if I was having trouble, so is he. And it's like, I'm going to write while I can, which is probably what I'm going to do when we wrap up tonight. I'm going to go back and write some more. So I'm not taking all day tomorrow to wrap up my notes, but lots of stuff coming out here. As I said earlier, Tales of the Jedi, an animated series that is going to tell short stories, short form stories. That sounds pretty good.
I've already seen Stills of Dooku. Have you seen those? The Stills
no,
of
I have
Dooku
not.
Film? Yeah, check that out.
I haven't seen much.
Google it.
I did see some of the imagery from the Ahsoka Sizzler reel there, which looks very, very interesting, especially
baby.
that tease at the end where they go back to the painting of the Rebels crew, essentially telling us that Ezra Bridger, that like we know we're going to get the conclusion to, we think we know we're going to get the conclusion to that story.
Right. Rebels season 5 live action.
Yeah. More exactly. More details on Andor, where Andor apparently is initially is shown to be a separatist sympathizer before he comes over to the other side. And what else?
Skeleton Crew.
We don't know anything about it. Essentially, I think Skeleton Crew, I mean, if the name tells us anything, the minimum number of people required to pilot or to operate a starship. So that could be an interesting thing. Maybe a Firefly kind of thing. Maybe a pirate kind of thing.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and oh my God, there's just so much news.
Mandalorian season 3 Sizzler,
yeah,
as well, that had some, among other things, it had Bo-Katan on a throne.
Oh yes.
And one line from her was great because there's like some blaster fire, and she looks down and it's Grogu looking up at her, and she goes, "What? You thought your dad was the only Mandalorian?"
The only Mandalorian, right?
So like a few things there. She refers to him as his dad, and then just the way I can't wait. I said it before when we were at the beginning of this season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Yep.
But we are in the Star Wars golden age right now.
Oh, we absolutely are. It is such a great place to be right now. Andor on the 31st of August.
Yep.
Do we have dates for Ahsoka yet?
First quarter 2023.
We've got season 3 of the Bad Batch coming up probably before the end of the year. It could in fact be the on the back end of Andor. Well, it comes out in August, so that'll take us, if it's a 5 to 7 or 8 episode series, that's going to take us into
Acolyte.
I think I saw something to the effect that Andor is a 12 episode one.
12. Oh dear Lord, that's going to be a long one.
Yeah.
We are going to be Star Wars heavy for the rest. It appears we are anyway for the rest of 2022.
We are not a Star Wars show.
I tell you, if you wake up one day and you see all of our social media accounts have been rebranded, then you know we've drank the Kool-Aid.
We might have to go
we already drank the
different
Kool-Aid.
channel for non-Star Wars stuff. I mean, hey, there's other stuff in the ether for fans too. The She-Hulk stuff looks great. Did you see that they re-released the trailer with all new CGI effects on her face?
I did. Yes, I did. Yeah.
So
Stranger Things season 4 just dropped.
I've been watching that, boys, and wow! Actually,
I haven't seen it yet.
I got to see Maverick this week.
Ooh, there you go. Finally.
Spoiler-free review. How was that?
Okay, I said it on my social media, my personal social media. I'll say it now to the channel. Top Gun Maverick is the Force Awakens of the Top Gun franchise.
Oh, wow.
It is played for both good and sometimes bad.
Yeah.
The sequence involving Iceman is handled very, very well. And to see Iceman and Maverick together again is so rewarding.
That's pretty cool.
And I will say this, Miles Teller practically channels Anthony Edwards in the third act. And Top Gun Maverick gets 7 Great Balls of Fire out of 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Willow trailer. Last thing.
Yes.
The Willow trailer.
Whoa.
Lauren wept.
the world needs you again. They need your magic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I read today actually. Mad Mardigan will be addressed. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, apparently this year's Star Wars Celebration was more Lucasfilm Celebration.
Yeah, right.
First images for
But
Indy.
Indy, yeah.
Yeah.
Presented by Harrison Ford himself. Yeah.
I think before we get going, I'm going to close out here on a merchandising note. Hasbro Pulse had a page go up and quickly went down again.
Uh-oh.
Hasbro Pulse is doing apparently put up a page for what they are calling the Hasbro Selfie Series, where they showed off many figures in their 6-inch lines, from Ghostbusters to Star Wars to Power Rangers to Marvel Legends. And the deal is you can have a 3D modeling of your head on an action figure.
Bro.
I'm in. I'm totally in.
I'm in.
I need an X-Wing pilot,
Oh man.
possibly a Jedi.
Oh man. I want one of me on every body.
On everything.
Bring me 500 heads.
You can be Spider-Man now.
In real life. Perfect.
Sean's in too.
Sean says, yeah, I'm
Yes.
in. Why wouldn't you be?
Yep.
All right, guys. This has been part 1 of our little show here, The High Ground. Man, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's been my most anticipated Star Wars live action project since Rogue One, since it was announced, God knows when, years ago.
It's been years too, right?
Yeah. It's been a very busy week, both personally and professionally, to get the show together, to deal with some life stuff.
Man.
We are not going to leave you hanging. I said we will never be first, but we will always be what you've come to expect from Fandom Power. And I invite everybody who's watching now to come back and see us tomorrow night.
Yeah, man.
It's Monday, May 30th. We're going to be back at the same time, 6 p.m., where, again, as I said, I'll be back in the hot seat, and we will cover part 2 tomorrow night. So that's it for me, guys.
Yeah, man.
For Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
I'm Hank.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.